What's up, folks? Hope everybody's doing well today. Welcome back to the show. Great to see all of you here. Please like, subscribe, and share with all your friends. We greatly appreciate it. Next on the show, we've got New Hanover County Captain Ben Bobzien, also our local 4576 president and the North Carolina PFFPNC District 4 vice president. It's always great to get Captain Bobzien in the studio. He's mine and Steve's probably one of our favorite people to talk to. I'm sure Steve will agree with that. We talk about a lot of things that the PFFPNC is doing here in our state. What's next, since we've got the cancer legislation on that 2-year term. What's next, how to make that a permanent thing for us in the future. All great things the PFFPNC is fighting for. We really appreciate all the hard work that that crowd is doing for us up there in Raleigh and on that legislative front. We also talk about things that the IAFF in general, the International Association of Firefighters, is doing. The disaster relief they're providing in Florida, as well as the other things they're fighting for us for in legislation. Great to have back Captain Bobzien in the studio again. Y'all stay tuned, more to come. Real quick, I want to jump back on here and tell y'all we really love and appreciate everything that y'all are doing for us. We appreciate all the things that you're doing for us on that Amazon Smile. That's not just going to us. I just want to let y'all know that that is going to the charitable fund to help firefighters in our state in times of need. Okay, so everything that you're doing for that, we really appreciate it. It's near and dear to our heart. I'm glad we have the opportunity to be a part of it and help raise funds for such a great foundation. Thank you so much. Once again, we love y'all. Here's Captain Bob.
Do you remember me and Trevor were on Rescue 18? It was Squadzilla at the time, but Rescue 18 ran all the medicals, remember?
Yep.
So it was a late night call. I don't remember why you were up, but you had come to the door for the opening to the bay, I think just to make sure we were there. So I put my stuff on the truck, got in, and was driving out, and I had left my roll-up door open. For all the listeners, I had exactly 1 year on probably at the time. So, you know, rookie move, but I was a rookie. So
I think I did that last month.
Yeah. So I was getting ready to pull out, and you were like, "You forgetting something?" And just looked at me like dead serious. And I was like, "What?" And I looked back, and I was like, "Can you get that for me?" You looked at me like, "You piece of shit."
I just remember the day I came into work early, and I was sitting there at the desk. It was like 5:30, and I can't remember why I came in, but this sounds funky.
Is it only on one side?
I don't know. That's better.
Cool.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, that worked. But there was that knock on the window, and I was like, "What the fuck?" I was like, so
the bicycle guy.
Yeah, I went to the front door, and there was this huge man standing there sucking his thumb, and I was like, like, "Not today, Satan." I'm like, and I was like, "Be right back." So I went over to the night side. He had the engine room and the truck room. And I sat there and looked at the engine room. And I can't remember the crew that was on there, but I was like, nope. And so I went to the truck, the truck room, and I got Steve up. And who else was it? Griskowski, Ray.
Me and Trev were in the rescue room. Yeah, Griskowski and Martin were in the other room.
Okay, that's right. I was like, oh, my God. I was like, hey, I need you. I was like, bring the muscles. Come on. Dude ended up being super cool. Like, apparently he's like special needs. His chain fell off. So these guys like worked on his bike, got him back rolling.
He was a monster. Like
he was
6'4", 6'5", like beast.
And he's just sitting there sucking his thumb watching us. I was like, all right, Holmes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was like I was working on Debo's bike.
Yeah.
That was Fix my chain, punk. Oh, mercy.
Mm-hmm.
Good memories down there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How long did you have flowers down there?
Oh, geez. Not long.
Yeah.
Nah.
Like, I think he was on the tender first, then came to you for a little bit, and then went to 14 maybe. Yeah.
I had a good amount of people rotate, through there. And I don't remember how long he was there, but yeah.
Stand-up guy.
He is.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I've enjoyed working with him.
Yeah. He will mess with you, though. I don't trust him.
But he is a Flowers.
He is definitely a Flowers.
He got it honest.
That apple was still on the tree. Yeah. So,
Shout
Ben
out
Bob,
Dorian.
no
Yeah.
doubt. Well, Capt Bobzien,
Hey,
thank
now.
you for joining us again.
Glad to be here.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I would imagine most of our listeners know of our partnership with the PFFPNC Charitable Fund and what's going on now. So, brought you in today to give us a little update on what's going on, what the PFFPNC is pushing, what y'all got going on, what's coming up in the future, that sort of thing. We always love hearing about it. We like being your media outlet.
For sure, for sure. Also, thank you guys for having me on here. I think every time I come on, your ratings go down a little bit.
Pooey.
No, I do appreciate it. No, we're doing some good work in the state. We just had our board meeting where we discussed the plan moving forward. We'll have another meeting in January. But right now we are working on several things. We're working on the plan for legislation moving forward. That's a never-ending thing. Just because we got 2-year funding for cancer legislation, it was a win. It was wonderful, but that doesn't stop. And we got to continue on, and we got to push the path forward for our members. So that includes permanent funding for that cancer legislation, PTSD, retirement benefits. Those are all things that we're going to be, that's basically a broad outlook.
Sure.
That's not nothing definitive what we're doing this legislative session, but we're working with our people that help us with developing bills and putting them in, introducing them into the General Assembly, and we start moving on that. And once that happens, that's when the work starts.
Yeah, I was blown away to find out. I'm trying to remember who we were even speaking with, but when I found out that when the cancer legislation had passed and all this, and it was a great victory and all this kind of stuff, and then they were like, "Yep, so now we got to work on making sure that that's a permanent fund." And I was like, "What do you mean a permanent fund?" They were like, "Yeah, well, it's not necessarily a pilot program, but we secured funding for 2 years." And I was like, wait a minute, like that's real?
That is, and that's I think that's pretty common where they may not be ready to push the button and fully fund something. They want to see what it does over a 2-year period, and go from there. And then if they see the benefits and see the cost, how much that's costing them in that 2 years, then they can forecast what it's going to cost moving forward, and they can predict, whether or not they can afford it. So that 2 years is extremely important. And I read an article the other day. I think they've had over 70 claims in the last year for cancer. I don't think all of those have been awarded, but yeah, it's a substantial number in North Carolina, and they've paid out, I believe it said, over $1 million, to firefighters in North Carolina. So it is substantial. It's a huge benefit, and one that we need to continue fighting for, because firefighters as a whole, whether it's your professional firefighters like us or volunteer firefighters, which make up the majority of the state, we need that legislation, because we're putting it all on the line and we're getting cancer and we're dying. So it's huge. It's important. So we will continue to fight for that.
Sure. Is the idea of it being permanently funded, is that a conversation that's happening amongst the legislators and stuff like that? Like they're like, "Oh yeah, I think this is something that we probably should fund," and then we just kind of take it off the table because it's going to just be funded.
It's still going to have to go before the committees and to the floor vote for it to get permanent funding. So it's not just like we can't backdoor it and say, okay, it's going good, let's fund it. It's going to have to go through with. Like I said, through all the committees and to the floor of the House and the Senate for a full vote, and to get that permanent funding.
But once it's permanently funded, it's done.
That's done.
We're done. We can
unless like one day we amend it to change the dollar amount or something like that. But other than that, it's a done deal.
Is it a capped figure
right now?
Yes.
So right now it's $25,000 lump sum. So if I say I have cancer, or the doctors say I have cancer, and I fill out the application through Department of Insurance. If I fill out that application, send it in with all my documentation, and they approve it, then I get $25,000 lump sum benefit, and then also get a reimbursement of medical expenses. So you can get this twice. So let's say I have cancer and I beat it, and I receive the benefit, and then 5 years down the road, I get a different form of cancer. Again, I can put I can apply for it and get that benefit again, but it's only 2 times.
Is it? What if the same cancer comes back? Like if you go into remediation? Ooh, stumped him. Stumped him.
Stumped me, but I don't think that's the case. I think if the same cancer comes back, I think that's
already
not applicable. I think you've already been paid out for that.
Sure.
So, but yeah, I mean it's a huge benefit.
No doubt.
I mean, North Carolina was one of the last 2 states in the U.S. to receive cancer benefits. And we have one of the most powerful legislations in place right now. One of the most powerful laws in place for firefighters. So when you look at other states that have presumptive cancer, they're not as good as North Carolina's. So that's something that firefighters as a whole need to be extremely proud of. The hard work that was put in by the PFFPNC, the locals around this state, talking to their legislators, and other organizations in the state that took a part in it. It's something to be proud of because there was a lot of advocacy, a lot of fighting that went in to get it done.
Yeah, certainly. Yeah. That's the most hopeful 2-year explanation that I've heard. The purpose behind it.
Yeah. Sure.
It seems like I was kind of with you. Like we got a maybe. Like what's a maybe count for?
We'll try and see.
Yeah, but it makes sense when you explain it. That it's a
Yeah.
process. It has to be put in and then tried, and so I get it.
Yeah, and we've looked at doing that with other legislation as well. And you never know. You may see that again where you'll have a 2-year pilot program.
Yeah, trial.
And then, they look at it. If it works, then, let's talk about funding at that point. So, yeah, it's good.
Yeah, we can also chat about the disaster relief program because we just had the opportunity to use that, right? Didn't we?
Well, so the disaster relief fund that is done through the IAFF it is a huge benefit to members. I know not everybody in the U.S. and in Canada deal with hurricanes, but others deal with wildfires, they deal with earthquakes, they deal with floods. Any natural disasters type of event is applicable to the disaster relief fund. So the IAFF Disaster Relief Fund is organized and run through the IAFF Foundation, and it's all donation based. Where just recently, with Hurricane Ian hitting Florida, as soon as it hit Florida, and I knew that there was going to be so many firefighters that lost their homes, I made a very small donation of $100. I was just like, here, there's $100 to the disaster relief fund. Is that going to change somebody's life? No, but if
collectively
a mass of people donate $100, then it truly makes a big difference.
Absolutely.
So the IAFF, it's not just this, thought that it's just this pile of money. They do so many things with it that is honestly one of the most impressive things that I've ever seen. So they organize peer support to come down. And what I'm telling you guys may start ringing bells, of memories of here in Wilmington. But peer support, they have rebuilding teams that come down. They have trucks full of generators and tools, tarps to give out to firefighters for their homes. They have rebuilding teams that come down. Right now, Wilmington Local 129 has that 911 Heart trailer in Florida. We've sent a couple of members. I think one from our local 4576, but also Local 129 sent several members down already. They've done a substantial job down there. So what they're doing is they're going to firefighters' homes and they are tarping them. They're rebuilding them. I got a call. I got a text message from a former member of our local that lives down in Florida. He said, "Hey, I got a retired FDNY guy that I'm friends with, lives here. His house flooded. He's super upset, doesn't know what to do. I said, give me a few minutes. I was like, send me his name, address, telephone number, where he can be reached, and send it to me. So I sent it, forwarded it on to Local 129, who had already had a team down there. Also notified the IAFF of what was going on. Next day, they had a team going to his house. And so, like, you know, it's, you know, sitting back here in Wilmington where we just had minimal effects, you know, from this storm, you know, you almost feel helpless that you can't, you know, get hands-on, help people. But when you do little things like that, it's reassuring that there's the greater good, you know, and that's what the IAFF. So they have those teams rebuilding, the generators, the tarps, all that they provide. I did receive word that had tractor trailers full of gasoline and diesel fuel on 6-hour rotations going into Florida.
Wow.
To fuel the disaster recovery teams. I don't know if they were fueling apparatus or not, but you know that's huge. And so yeah, the disaster relief fund is a benefit to members. I know when Florence struck here, a lot of our members got a $500 Visa gift card. Just hey, if you need to use it for whatever, if you need it for food, if you need it for patching your roof, or if you need it for whatever, there it is. No questions asked. Here's $500. Take it. Be well. Let us know if you need anything else. You know.
Yeah, truck showed up at my house, and the dudes put the tarp on I had holes in the roof where a tree hit. You know. Yeah, they set me up. I was dry inside, and then handed me that gift card. I had been working.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah, we were doing the whole task force thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they were at the house fixing stuff.
So, you know, most of us worked for like 2 weeks straight.
Yeah.
And my family had gone to Atlanta. But my mom, who lives in our same neighborhood, her neighbor said, hey, she's missing part of her ridge cap and a couple shingles. I was like, okay, thanks for letting me know. Well, I was at the IAFF command post in downtown Wilmington with, at the time, President Stennerson. And we were sitting there, and they said, where does she live? I said, well, it's my mom's house. It's not my house. They're like, where does she live? So we had a team from Pittsburgh Fire, from their local. So Pittsburgh's IAFF local loaded up, went to my mom's house, patched the roof, put a new shingles up, tapped them in. And like to this day, like I haven't had to do anything to it because they apparently they're roofers. Yeah. So because they did a really good job. But yeah, that's all like that's part of this brotherhood. It's part of this, you know, this IAFF that we have, where we look out for the betterment of our members. So it's a huge thing. If you don't mind me getting on my phone real quick, I got some. So DVP Walt Dick sent this out the other day. I guess it was 5 days ago. So this number has probably changed. So they had 346 requests for assistance, 162 IAFF team members down there, 92 repair teams deployed, 20 Airbnbs donated to IAFF members, probably that they lost everything, $50,000 given out in IAFF debit cards, 10 peer support teams, 177 IAFF members and 24 fire stations were visited. So like that was just right after the storm. And so there's just a huge amount of work going on by the IAFF down in Florida right now. And I mean, I cannot express enough. Like people ask, like, why do I pay dues? Why do I do this? That's one of the reasons. Now I may never need disaster relief, but it sure as heck is there for me, and it's there for my family. That is only one of many reasons why I'm a member of the IAFF.
Yeah, the mention of it is just based off the relevancy, obviously. Yeah, but I recall it a lot during Florence. All the folks around here benefiting from it. It was wild. Just that was my first experience with. That was my first experience with dealing with something like that, and then watching the IAFF work and stuff like it.
It's you know I don't know if you guys got the tetanus shots that they were giving out.
Nah, of course.
So Okay. You're good. I get it. No, but a lot of our members got tetanus shots.
Right.
They set up at one of the firehouses and said, hey, like, if you want it, it's here. So we had a line of people. They'd walk in, pop, got your tetanus shot here, you know.
What was the idea? What was the...
Just because of the fact that we were working around debris, you know, rusty nails, anything like that. And if you don't know when your last tetanus shot is, and typically you get a booster. So they were giving out tetanus boosters. And that was all done through the IAFF. We had the peer support teams down at the firehouses talking to our guys that have been awake for 4 or 5 days straight and were delirious.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, that'll play.
Guilty.
Yeah. You know, that's a whole different living right there.
Right.
If you know, so, you know, it was good having them, you know, those teams down. I know DVP Dix at the time, GB Shapeburger was coming by the firehouses and visiting our members. So they didn't let us, you know, even down here in southeastern North Carolina, they didn't forget about us. So it doesn't matter where you are. If you're in the middle of nowhere, Kansas, you know, or if you're in New York City, you're treated equally by the IAFF, and that's a beauty of it.
Yeah, I'm sure they sent some people to South Carolina and stuff. Didn't South Carolina have
Yeah,
some
I think they had some issues. I'm not exactly sure what all went down there, but yeah. So
I'm sure they were there.
Oh yeah.
The legislative front is so necessary, and it's, you know, the storm response is so badass, but then like the disaster is much smaller. It's just in a single person's home, like the whole cancer stuff.
Yeah.
It's both of those fronts alone are great reasons to be a part. But then there's more, you know,
there's a lot
those
more.
two things. Yeah. That's just 2 degrees.
So many things, you know, I can't speak highly enough of the IAFF and, you know, going to Canada for the convention, you know, my eyes were opened on some things, and we have great leadership with GP Kelly, Ed Kelly, Edzo, and also Frankie Lima, that's, you know, running our financial side of it as Secretary Treasurer. But those guys are on fire, and they are fighting tooth and nail for every single member. So it's amazing to see, and it's something I'm proud of. So,
what's the hopes for the PFFPNC here in North Carolina? What's hot on topic this year?
Well, one, you know, obviously growing membership.
Yeah.
You know, we do have professional firefighters in this state that are not affiliated. You know, there's areas like Goldsboro and Clinton and, you know, just nearby. You know, even Kinston, they do have a local, but also increasing the amount of membership. So that's on our radar, is to improve membership numbers. And I think we've done a really good job here in Wilmington, New Hanover, and other areas in the state that, you know, we've shown how much work is going on, you know, not just in the state and not just in IAFF, but also on a local level, you know, whether it's, you know, the COVID time that we got past, or, you know, endorsing candidates, and, you know, just making sure that we're in the game. And people see that and they want to be a part of it, which is fantastic. So that's what we're working on in the state, is trying to, you know, improve or increase our numbers.
I think, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but one of the biggest benefits, and I've had conversations from these paid departments that are small, you know exactly which one we're talking about, but I've had conversation with the members of these departments about the importance of having a local. I'm like, you need a local. If you don't have a collective voice going to make an upfront argument about your issues or the things that you would like to see change, when it's not coming from a collective area and it's just a bunch of people bitching or running their mouth, it never works.
It
I was
doesn't.
like, and granted, the locals, their job is not necessarily to organize and put into a pile the importance of the gripes and moans per se, but some are more important than others, and some of them are real issues.
Yeah.
So the purpose of it has, aside from all the benefits of just what it can do for the department itself on a very, very local base versus, you know, before you get into the state benefits and all that, what it's doing on the state level, but how much it can improve and help the voice of the members together as a local department.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head when you talked about a collective voice. You know, if Ben Bobzien went to HR and I'm fussing about something, they're going to be like, okay, I hear you. You know, we'll look into it. But if you sit there and say, I represent 105 or however many your local has, ours
5, 4, 6, whatever.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
I represent all 8, career firefighters of this town, and this is what's going on, and we're tired of it, or we need to work with you to get this fixed. Mm-hmm. That holds more weight.
Absolutely.
When COVID came around and they said, okay, you got to burn your accrued leave. Well, guess what? That doesn't sit well. I don't think it sat well with either of y'all.
Right.
And it didn't sit well with me, nor did it sit well with, Stennerson in the city and his local at the time. But we as a collective voice went to the commissioners and said, hey, we got a problem with this. And like, what can we do to rectify this? Give me 15 minutes. And then 15 minutes later, our county was covering all leave for COVID. And, and it wasn't just for us, it was for almost 2,000 New Hanover County employees. So it was something to be extremely proud of. Yeah. All it takes is conversation, but it's hard to be just Joe Blow employee and saying, hey, I want to have a talk about this, because they're going to listen to you.
Yeah.
But you're going to walk out the door and it's more than likely it's going to get dismissed.
Right.
But you go in there with weight behind you and say, hey, I'm representing all these guys and girls, and this is what's going on. We got to change this. It means a lot. So even in a small department, in the one that we've talked about, but in a small department, you've got to have that collective voice. And also, you also don't want to put yourself out there, because at the end of the day, you got kids at home, you got bills coming in, you got mouths to feed, a roof to put over your family's head. So a lot of people don't want to sit there and go to HR as Joe Blow employee, or and then start fussing about something, because they may feel like their jobs are in jeopardy.
Yeah.
Well,
stick your neck out far enough, it'll get chopped off.
Yeah, absolutely. So there are protections with having union representation. North Carolina is a right-to-work state, so it's we don't have collective bargaining here. In fact, it's illegal here to have on a local level. That doesn't mean you're ineffective. We get stuff done all the time just through conversation. That's all it takes, is to have crucial conversations with another person to get things done. It doesn't take you being an asshole. It doesn't take you, grandstanding, jumping up and down, demanding things. If you just sit there and have a conversation, like, hey, I'm representing these guys, and everyone collectively feels this way, or we need this as a group, that goes a long way. And I think that you could do that if you have a 200-member department or a 8-member department. I mean, it's, you're still as effective.
Being pro-union doesn't equal anti-establishment or
Absolutely
admin. Like in that situation with the COVID, you just brought a problem to the table. It's not, I have this problem with you, or I have this problem with you. It was, this is a problem. How can we work together to fix it?
Yeah. And, we've got a great relationship with administration. I sit on a committee that's working on rights for pregnant firefighters. Something that is more and more coming to the light in our department, because we're getting more and more females in our ranks, and so it's extremely important that we give them a voice, because there's a lot of things that aren't put out there, and so there's a lot of questions about their rights and whether or not they have to stay on a truck, or do they, if they say that I'm pregnant, then I'm kicked off the rig and I have to use sick time. So all this is going on. So we've developed a committee with administration. We actually just met the other day with HR, and going over these things, and trying to find common ground to help out our members. So stuff like that. It's not always a fight. It's a good thing. Fire chief just the other day, I talked to him about the cancer screening that the PFFPNC just did in Raleigh. So we just did a ultrasound screening on our whole e-board, but also any of the local presidents around the state that wanted to come by. And we had several come and get basically ultrasound cancer screenings. So I talked to him about the importance of that, and also talked to him about potentially putting it into the budget. And he's like, "Yeah, let's talk about this, because, I mean, early detection could be a cost savings measure on the municipality, the county government, on the new cancer legislation where it pays out $25,000. If I can find it before it becomes cancer, then guess what? You don't have to pay me $25,000. You know what I mean?
And your department doesn't have to pay out on their policy.
That's right.
That's right.
Yeah. And my treatment for having something that's precancerous is substantially cheaper than if I had cancer.
And probably faster. So
And
you're
faster.
Back on
and
the
I'm
rig.
back on the rig. You don't lose anything. So there's so many positive outcomes with just doing some additional testing. And those are conversations that we have with administration that they are absolutely receptive to.
Is there a lot of upfront cost associated with it?
So the screening can be as much as about $500 per person.
Pennies.
Pennies, right? For you high rollers over here.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, about $500 per person. It's not something you would need every year. It may be something that they scan you, say, "Hey, I see absolutely nothing remarkable," and you're good for another 5 years until you get another scan. Or they could say, "Hey, I found something. You need to get it checked," and that's typically how it goes. It's they do the scanning, they call you. Regardless of your results being positive or negative, they call you on the phone saying, "Hey, we found something." And they go through each section that they scan. So for men, it's testicles, it's your bowels, your liver, your spleen, your heart. They look at your cardiovascular side of it as well. They look at your aorta, your heart. So when they scan those things, they also do your thyroid, your neck, your lungs. So they look at your whole, basically your chest and abdominal cavity for cancer, and also cardiovascular for your heart. So if they sat there and said, "Hey, I found a little something, you need to get it followed up," the report will be emailed to you today. And so basically you get this report that breaks down every section, every organ that they scanned, and any remarkable findings, or if there were none, it'll tell you that. So if they found something, obviously you need to go get it checked. And I mean, I was talking about me earlier when we were just talking, but for me, they found multiple nodules in my thyroid, and so what I did was I ended up going to the endocrinologist, having another ultrasound done, because even though they did a fine job,
Sure.
you go to an endocrinologist, they're going to run
Yeah.
one anyway.
Yeah.
So they did another ultrasound, found multiple nodules in my thyroid. And so then I had to schedule a biopsy, had a biopsy done. It came back inconclusive. So like where I am now is waiting on another biopsy on the 26th of this month and genetic testing to see if it's cancer. If it is, then we've caught it early.
No
If it's
doubt.
not, it's something that I need to keep an eye on for the next, if I don't have it surgically removed, if I keep it in there, then I'm just have to keep an eye on it over the years and probably get a scan every whatever they tell me.
Right.
Sure.
So there are so many benefits of having this scan done that I think it's awesome, because I think we can catch things before we kill firefighters with cancer.
Yeah, I think if we can somehow mitigate that cancer problem, it's been going on long enough now that we're about out of excuses of why we're not doing better.
Early testing.
Yeah, why we're not doing it better. It's out there. Technology's out there. So what are we doing? Like I said, I think we're about out of excuses. You can argue money. You can argue whatever you want. But it's like, sooner or later, one of these is going to hit home, or it's going to hurt, or it's going to get personal. And
Well, I mean,
then it's too late.
it's already personal for us, right?
Exactly.
We've got some friends that are dealing with it.
Yeah.
And, we went the longest time of not having any cases, and now we do. And it's tough when you see somebody you care about, is one of those people.
Sure.
So I do think that there are still steps that we as firefighters can do to help mitigate. But, it's just, we've got to get people serious about cancer. And we've got to, on your hood wash day, how many times do you see people wash their hoods?
I've always based mine on how much
Exposure.
work, or how much work I've
Yeah.
had.
Yeah.
That's what I've
Yeah.
always based my
So,
life off,
but again, and I'm guilty of it. Hood wash day, I'm like, it doesn't need it, you know. But there's those things that we've just got to. I don't know. We're sometimes our own worst enemy.
Of course.
And it's I just think we have to do a better job, you know. So
I think I don't remember where I heard it or who said it, but the other day somebody, like I said, maybe it'll come to me, but they said firemen are pretty simple. They're pissed off about how things are, but they hate change.
that's it. Yeah, you're absolutely right. So yeah, it's I don't know. I think there's some changes coming around, and you know, the IAFF right now is fighting against you know, gear manufacturers for having PFAS in the gear.
Yeah, I've heard about that.
You know, and that's honestly, it's even an argument amongst firefighters.
Right.
You know,
I was getting ready to ask you. I've heard itty bitty little pieces. So what's the deal?
so like PFAS used in the waterproofing, moisture barrier, and so the IAFF is basically trying to make sure that gear manufacturers are making gear that don't have PFAS in it. I don't know how they're going to do it. I'm not a scientist, so I don't know about water repelling and, you know, whatnot. But it's something that the IAFF feels very strongly that we can stop the gear manufacturers from making gear with PFAS. I don't know how that's going to happen personally, but
So PFAS is bad.
PFAS is your forever chemical, Gen X in your water. You know, we drink it every day.
Lead.
Lead,
Your body can't get rid of it.
Yeah. So
it's forever metal.
Chemours is a company that was involved in all that. I don't know if I'm supposed to say that. Anyway,
Yeah.
but and they're also doing mitigating efforts that they're trying. You know,
So you said firemen are arguing about it. What's the argument?
so because I don't know if there's any options out there to fix that.
Mm-hmm.
So do you give up water repellency for, you know what I mean? Or
Yeah.
do you saturate your gear and then you got a whole other slew of problems on your hand, you know?
Well, gosh, I'm probably gonna sound like an asshole. I've been pretty against the real fast decon measures. Like,
Soaking you down out on scene.
yeah, I mean, let me get my work done first. But so that's perfect if I now have at least a more real argument. Like, hey, let's ease up on the hosing me down just yet.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm not against decon. I'm just
yeah, definitely. I mean, I think that's important. But I mean, honestly, you still have fire departments nationwide that are going to fires, and they come out looking like a snowman with all the insulation and charring around them, and they shake it off and they get in the rig and they go back to the firehouse,
right.
And they're not doing a scrub down, because you're saturating your gear, and a lot of people don't want to deal with hanging it up, soaking wet, and then getting another run.
Can't wash that smoke smell out, dog.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, there's, like I said, I just think that we need to do a better job. But I get the not want to do a wash down until you're done, but there's always going to be exposure.
Yeah.
Always.
Yep. I don't want to get sidetracked on my belief about decon, but that is interesting. I didn't realize it was that deep, the argument over your gear.
Yeah. So the IAFF has really taken a stance on it, and GP Kelly, he's been up at DC, and trying to force regulations with PFAS. Mm-hmm. So it's a fight,
There's an answer. There's always an answer.
For sure.
There's an answer, but from somebody that's much smarter than we are, that.
I was talking to you at lunch about David, our FireDex representative here.
Yeah.
I reached out to him and was like, hey, we've discussed having a turnout gear, not gonna say specialist, but somebody who's more knowledgeable about it than us, come in and chat about it. One, the technology from what it used to be to what it is now is fascinating to me, but this would be a great question for him.
Absolutely.
And I will say that
I'm sure the gear manufacturers are they're fighting it just as hard as the IAFF is on the other side.
Yeah, so that there are studies that come out that say there's no PFAS.
Sure.
But typically they're paid for by the gear manufacturer.
Of course.
And I'm not saying that I'm not here to say what's right or wrong. So if anybody's watching this and sending me hate mail, I'm not.
What's that laser on your chest?
Yeah, right. All I'm saying is there are arguments to both sides.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to carry on for some time. And in the end, firefighters are dying. And it's not just the turnout gear. It's the water we're drinking here in Wilmington. It's a multitude of things. Mm-hmm. It's the fires we're going in and the carcinogens we're being exposed to. The IAFF just added I don't remember how many the total was, but it was hundreds of names to the IAFF memorial in Colorado Springs.
Right.
And the majority of those were cancer deaths. I mean, it's happening, guys. This isn't some conspiracy theory. This is happening. We got guys that are dying left and right from cancer. And this has started over the last several years. Before that was cardiovascular. And then we have blown that out of the water with cancer. And it's crazy to me.
Yeah, I wonder if it was because when it was cardiovascular, that was the hot topic of conversation, and we did so much to try to combat that side of it that we done good. So, the plateau went away for the cardiovascular side of our dying, and now it's cancer. So now we're doing correctly. We're following suit. We're trying to get things passed, we're getting in place, things to help benefit and the screening and all that. So trying to track down that prior to it being out of hand.
Sure.
Is hopefully it'll follow suit just like the cardiovascular side.
So.
Hopefully in another 10 years we're figuring out something else to fight.
Yeah.
I mean,
there's always going to be a fight.
Yeah, I'm fine with it. Yeah, I'm good with it.
It's always going to be something. So it's unfortunate. It shouldn't be that hard.
No.
But it is. And
we'll probably end up back in the rubber coats and those long boots.
Oh, the hip boots?
Yeah.
Yeah.
3/4 coats?
There's a lot to be said about that.
Yeah. I think that's when firemen were firemen.
No doubt. No doubt.
So I wasn't one of those. So.
Yeah, me either.
I've seen the pictures, though.
Yeah.
And the mustaches that go with it.
Yeah, now we got trainer mustaches.
Right.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm working with the time off.
I know. I got it.
I'm coming back shining.
Yeah.
So what is the they've heard it all in my spiel, but maybe you can elaborate on it. What is the charitable fund? How does that benefit the members the most?
Sure.
So what are some of the benefits?
Well, charitable funds there to assist members of IAFF members in North Carolina. So like locals have charitable funds as well. So New Hanover County, we have our own charitable fund that helps only New Hanover County IAFF members. And then the PFFPNC has a charitable fund as well that basically covers everybody in the state. So if we have a member that's suffering, whether it's financial hardship due to medical costs or, there's a multitude of things, right? And we go to the state and say, hey, you know what? This member right here, he's suffering and he needs some help. So they'll write that person or move money to that person's account, whether it's by check or other means.
Sure.
But basically, we have to justify a need to the state. State has a board for the charitable fund. Brandon Layton is a treasurer, Wilmington Local 129. So, he's one of them. So we talk to them and say, hey, this is our need, and for this member, they decide upon themselves if it warrants help, and then at that point they'll cash a check to them to help them on their way. Now, we can't support you, for
of course not.
6 months or whatever. But if we have a member that has let's say they've got a nagging medical bill that just they can't get down because they don't have enough money, something like that we can help with.
Sure.
If we have a hurricane, not a hurricane, but a hurricane.
I like hurricane.
A hurricane. But if we have a hurricane, again, you have that disaster relief fund that's going to help from the IAFF, but we also have the charitable fund that we can give you more assistance and help you along your way. So the beauty about that is it covers so many things. We've had members in our area that have received money from the state, also from our own local charitable fund. So it's great to have, and it's nice knowing that we look out for our members to make sure that they don't drown. We don't want anybody drowning in debt or You know, just because you got high credit cards, I'm not going to give you money for that.
Right.
You know, I'm sorry. You know, we make our bed.
Not a bailout system.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's not. But at the same time, if we have somebody that's, I don't know, battling cancer, or if we have somebody that, I don't know, lost their house in a storm, or had significant damage, tree fall, or I don't know, something that is not a normal expense that is basically binding them down, we're going to help out. And so I love having it. You know,
Yeah.
I've never used it personally,
Right.
but if I ever needed it, I know it's there.
Right. Yeah, we love being a part of it, for sure.
Yeah. So it's huge. I mean, and again, it's funded a couple different ways, donation based. So if you want to make a donation to the New Hanover County Charitable Fund or the PFFPNC Charitable Fund, the PFFPNC will help statewide. So that's a substantial, you know, thing, and very welcomed if anyone did donate to it.
Right.
But they also receive some money from through the legislature, through DMV for license plates. So they do have revolving money that comes in, but it does help to have those donations, and I think it really maximizes how much we can give out to our members.
Cool.
I like that it's common sense based.
Yeah.
But it's not loaded with red tape. So it's
right.
not, you know, it's not like, all right, well, in 8 months we'll cut you a check.
No, it's usually in a couple of hours.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, by the time we make a phone call, Justin Price, Greensboro, he's also on our board for the state. He oversees that, and so we basically call him up, say, hey, I have a member that needs help. All right, give me a few minutes. Hour or so later, all right, we're good. Check's being cut. You know, so
That's so nice.
yeah, it's definitely a great benefit for our members. So
Cool. When you going to DC?
what to see the museums?
Yeah.
What you talking about, Willis?
Oh man.
Nah,
I'm just giving you a hard time.
no time soon. I don't know.
We do need to go to New York.
We definitely need to go
Yeah.
to New York.
Good old bro trip.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Dude, give me a date.
I was actually on Google Maps researching places the other day in Manhattan I wanted to go to, also in Brooklyn. So, I don't know. It'd be nice to go up there. This is a great time of year to be up there.
Dude, we're going to schedule it. Turns out I'm not going back to work for a little while. So,
that's true.
Yeah, dude, we'll schedule it.
I mean, if only we knew somebody up there to have like an inside track.
For
Start
sure.
looking
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Ben
Ethan.
Bob,
Yeah.
been a pleasure, brother.
Yeah, man. Thank you guys
Always.
for having me on.
Absolutely,
Always
dude.
appreciate you. And
Thanks for coming.
thanks for what you do.
Absolutely, man.
Yeah.
Cool.
Go.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, bro.
Thank you so much for listening to that episode. If you liked that episode, please leave a 5-star review on whichever platform you choose to listen to the show. Spotify, iTunes, or Apple Podcast, YouTube, whichever platform you choose to listen, please leave a 5-star review and then share it with your friends. If it's something they may benefit from, share it. Also, if you haven't switched over your Amazon to Amazon Smile, please do so. It's super easy and super simple. Go to Amazon on your computer or pull up your app on your phone. In the product search bar, type in Smile, click it in the drop-down box, follow the simple directions. When you get down to the end, it's going to ask you which charitable fund you choose to donate to. North Carolina Professional Firefighters Charitable Fund. You can copy and paste it from the link in the description. It's super simple, super easy, and we appreciate it. Thank you all for tuning in. Stay with us. Much more to come. We love you. God bless.